This is the Seahawkers Podcast, episode 477. I'm Brandon Schultz of the Military Seahawkers, and I am joined by my good buddy and Montana Seahawker, Adam Emmert. Adam, our Seahawks are now 3-1. They have defeated the stupid Arizona Cardinals, and look at us. We are tied atop the NFC West, just as it should be.
Absolutely. Division is tight when you think about it, but 1-1 in the division. And after last week, we thought maybe we could put our heart medication away as Seahawks fans, and nope, bust it back out. Even though for 3.5 quarters or so, or 2.5 quarters, somewhere in there, well, let's call it 3. You felt like you didn't have to bust it out again, but you did, because Cardinals came storming back there at the end. But Seahawks get the victory, and that's what's important. And exciting start.
Yeah, it's kind of I don't know what I expect as a typical Arizona Thursday night classic. Like that's just what it felt like ultimately to me. It was a game that we should have won going away, but annoyingly the Cardinals climb back into it late and make it closer than it felt like it should be. Because watching that game, the Seahawks, it felt like they controlled that game through most of it, and then toward the end, it got frustratingly, annoyingly close.
It did, and the defense was dominant throughout the full beginning of the game, and really just snuffed out anything that the Cardinals were trying to do. It was glorious to watching Kyler, run around and hit 2-yard passes like that. It was a great time, and I honestly thought that they were going to hold them to about 3 to 6 points. About halfway through that game, but unfortunately, Cards score a couple times there towards the end, and I put that a little less on the defense and a little more on the offense, kind of turtling up when it was all said and done. Some mistakes, you get behind the sticks, that sort of thing, but still some work to do. Still some work to do on the finish, but a lot of good things in the game as well.
It does feel like the offense maybe lifted their foot off the gas pedal a little bit. And the unfortunate part is that, gosh, I hate to point to a penalty in a win, but it really felt like it turned on that JSN not holding call where he gets run over and put on the ground and an official calls him for a hold. A touchdown that Charbonnet walks in. And if that happens there, I feel like the defense then can continue to play more aggressive. They don't have to worry about maybe the Cardinals trying to throw it deep. They can continue to sit on the short stuff, get after Kyler. And that's not how it went, though.
It's not. And look, at the end of the day, a dub's a dub. And let's talk a little bit about the good stuff. And I think we have to start with Sam in the game. I thought that he played a very good football game yet again. And really, when it all, buffs out and you're looking at what he does as a whole, right now, he's playing at a high level intellectually. And there was a throwaway on I believe it was a 2nd and short that was really smart. He just throws it at K9's feet instead of like trying to push the ball down the field and take a risk. Had a couple of nice throws while on the move and under pressure. And he really is just making the right read time in, time out. That throw to Bobo, another nice read where he gets to Bobo. I'm going to say it was his 3rd read. There's some people out there on the interwebs that disagree and say it was his 2nd read. But at the end of the day, playing very cerebral football, and it's been fun to watch for 25% of the season. Sam Darnold has been good now for 25% of the season.
It's been, real good. And the only criticism under pressure, like he wasn't under pressure much. Looking at the numbers, it was 10 out of 31 dropbacks. If you go by the PFF numbers,
felt like more.
He took 3 sacks. And so I think that's why it felt like more than it did. And a lot of those sacks, it was immediate pressure because of missed assignments. We can point to the Anthony Bradford video that's been circulating this past week, which
yikes.
It looks really bad when you string all of those bad plays all together in one. And that's why now I'm not going to argue that Bradford hasn't been the worst offensive lineman out of the 5, because I mean, that's just facts. but it looks particularly bad when you string all of those together, because coming out of the game, it's not like, I looked at a couple plays like the Calais Campbell one where he just puts up an arm and Calais just walks by his arm like, oh, you're going to do that to try and block me, and then give Sam a hug. There's that. It's just, I felt like going through the first 4 games of the season, the offensive line has been like kind of okay, and a reason why Sam Darnold has looked pretty good.
Really, it's made a big difference for Sam. In one of my big concerns about bringing Sam in as quarterback was just the idea of he needs to have some decent protection to be the type of quarterback that you hope he can be, and when you want to see good Sam.
Yeah.
And this offensive line had not shown that for how many years now? A dozen. And so it was hard to have faith that Kubiak was going to come in with Benton, and they were only going to make one significant change on the offensive line in terms of personnel, and it suddenly was going to be league average, which is exactly where it's at right now. It's not perfect. It's not great. The only guy who's playing great on the offensive line is Charles Cross, and he's playing really, really good football. Zabel has come in, and he's been a serviceable to good offensive guard, which is a massive upgrade. And for a rookie in his first 4 games, I'm not saying that I would really expect much more. He has still room to grow, and he can become a even higher level player as his career goes on. But through 4 games, I'm very pleased with what I see there. Sundell has showed his athleticism and does a very good and consistent job of getting to the second level. And Abe's been a little up and down at times, but his stuff has been
for Abe.
Is some tough competition. And, it's tough being out there on an island at right tackle at times, especially. And I think part of it is that he is right next to Bradford, which that video is unfortunate because you put him back to back to back, all the garbage plays, which do show up on the film. Like you see it when you go back and you rewatch these, but you'll also see 2 or 3 really mauling blocks and then 2 or 3 like turnstile things. In a more fair video would be showing those things kind of back to back, but Bradford's been the weakest link, no doubt about it to this point. What do you do about it? If Christian Haynes isn't better than that, then that's scary.
Yeah, it's to the point though where through 4 games you do have to wonder if you see more of those types of plays. Like at what point do you start to see Haynes mixed in a little bit, or some of these other guys that you are bringing in that maybe you can get some additional playing time, at least 5 or 6 snaps a game, to where you're decreasing the time a little bit to let a guy know that, okay, you're on notice and we're trying to see what this might, how this might look. I think the thing that makes the most sense for how fans see it is the idea of maybe moving Sundell to guard and bringing in Olu at center. And we've heard from Coach Mike that if Bradford were to get injured, that might be, I want to say that I've heard that if Bradford were injured, that would be kind of the next progression of how they might work that. Or even say if Zabel were to get injured, like with the guards, that they feel like Sundell would be the next backup at the guard spot, and then bringing in Olu. So is that something we could see? We'll have to wait and find out.
I'm interested. Like I wouldn't bemoan that change one bit. There's some other avenues possibly to upgrading that position, and I'm sure we will get to some of those possibilities here a little later in the pod with some other players maybe not having their greatest performance on Thursday night as well. But, one of the things that I was going to be interested to see in this game was just if they could get the running game on track against a good defensive front in the Arizona Cardinals. And they kind of did, like upper register, kind of, I don't know. The numbers look better than I think kind of the boom and busty performance of it like showed out. But I think we talked about it at one point on one of the shows. Maybe we even talked about it on What If, that's going to come out later this week, about it's just more important that they're doing it. And that's what's keeping the defenses honest and giving Sam cleaner looks down the field.
I think you do have to have success. And I think the reason why we saw relative success in this game is because if you go back and watch K9's first quarter, he was ripping off some long runs. And so you get to the point to where a defense is kind of scared to not have the loaded box against whether it's K9 or just running game in general, because that threat is there. And I saw an interesting post from John Gilbert on Field Goals that said that the Seahawks running back have been facing stacked boxes at the highest rate in the NFL.
Wow. Okay.
So highest rate in the NFL. We talked about in the offseason that running the football was non-negotiable. They have seemingly lived that through the first quarter of the season. Maybe not as effective as we would like. Well, I should say that differently. Maybe not as efficient as we would like in the running game, but it has been as effective as we would like.
It's a great way to put it, because maybe you're not ripping off the type of runs that you want to on the regular, but it's having the desired effect. And it's, again, I've said this for the last 3 weeks now, going after week 4 here. This is an absolute joy to watch. This is an absolute joy to watch, because this is how football ought to be played. And Clint Kubiak is doing a fantastic job. And one of the things that was super encouraging to me about the offense in this game was JSN. They looked at him, the Cardinals, and said, we're not going to let you beat us with 10 catches and, just carry this passing offense all day. We're going to roll coverage your way. We're going to double you up. And it was a quiet day for JSN up until closer to the end of the game. And instead of his production, I love how they were getting the tight ends involved. I mean, we saw Arroyo with a couple catches. He dang near had a touchdown. Barner did have a touchdown. And I think that's going to be the next big answer to the way defenses adjust to this offense. First, they're going to adjust by playing those heavy boxes. And I would have guessed it would have been not the most heavy boxes in the league, but maybe the most base defense in the league that out of anybody that they'd seen.
Yeah.
So that's the first adjustment from the defense.
6 to 1, half dozen to the other on that, I suppose, right?
Yeah. Good point. And so that's the first adjustment. Then you start throwing the ball downfield to your number one to exploit that extra man down in the box. And you do well with that for a few weeks. Defenses adjust to that. And they say, all right, fine. You're not going to run it, and you're not throwing it to that one dude. Do you have any answers past that? And that's where I thought this would get interesting.
Yeah.
And in week 4, they did.
And it was a question of mine through the first 3 weeks. How could this offense adjust if they really wanted to go heavy after JSN? Because another interesting stat line or chart that I think has been floating around is the receiving efficiency numbers. And through the rest of the NFL, like it's a pretty good group of all the receivers. And then you look out way to the right of the graph, and there's JSN, and then right above him is Puka Nacua. And it's like those two wide receivers have separated themselves in terms of offensive efficiency from the rest of the pack in the NFL. And I feel like it's one of those charts that lives up to the eye test, because Puka's been doing some crazy, he's just been getting open, like uncoverable. And we saw that in the Rams game this last week against the Colts, where here it came down to crunch time, and it's like you knew where the ball was going, and it went to Puka anyway, and he's scoring touchdowns.
Yeah. So I'm assuming to the right on the graph is the good side.
That's the good side. Yeah. Those exactly. Are the two that really stand out amongst everybody.
Yeah, no, Puka's having a great season, but that shows you just how effective that JSN has been throughout the first part of this year. I had real questions about his ability to be a true number one. I think at this point, so I'm always slow to kind of be like, okay, I think we're there with a guy. And JSN showed it a little bit last year when DK missed some time. And you were like, okay, I see glimpses of it, but let's see it when there's no threat of DK even coming back, Right. And so he's carried that over into a second season, and through a quarter of the season, I think I'm ready to say, look, JSN is all that when it comes to being a number one receiver. And I think that's just a really exciting development. And I can't wait for Torrey Horton to continue his ascension to really solidify himself at the number 2 spot, because another solid game from Torrey.
he had the one pass, the deep throw. And I thought it was cool that they then on some of these play action plays that rather than run them to JSN, which I think if JSN runs that route, that he finds a way to create just enough separation to make that touchdown. Torrey didn't quite yet and nearly came away with the touchdown. I like that they're finding those opportunities, especially in a game against the Cardinals, where I think you could afford to take some of those chances with Torrey Horton instead of just trying to feed JSN some more in those scenarios, getting him involved and some of the other guys that you mentioned too, like getting the tight ends involved.
Yeah, you bet. And that was great coverage on that deep shot to Horton. And if he could have come down with that, that'd have been bigger than a grown man catch. So I'm not too mad that he didn't seem to be able to come down with that one, but I like where that's heading. And as much fun as it is to be excited about the offense clicking to some degree, this team, everything starts and stops with this defense, and it starts and stops with Leonard Williams. And we're just not talking about him enough, period. And I think like we're going up against the Bucs next week and people, Vita Vea. Okay, cool. Yeah. What about Leo? What about Big Cat? Like this guy is absolutely wrecking games. He is and the thing is I love his spirit too, because he's out there. There's one replay. I want to say it was the Nwosu sack, or as Al Michaels and Herbie would say, the Nwosu sack, because I couldn't figure out how to say his name all night. Nwosu. Yeah, exactly. However it is, they tried to butcher his name. But he's getting doubled. Leo is the entire rep, and they get the sack, and instantly when dude hits the deck, his arms are in the air. He's celebrating. He's jazzed because he did his part to free up the stuff for the other guys. And that's awesome to see, because there's a lot of thankless work that doesn't show up on the stat sheet that shows just how Leo is being one of those dominant interior players.
I like that they don't have to be, it doesn't have to be a certain guy that is getting all the attention one week. Like I feel like it's going to rotate through this defensive line a little bit, because we've seen the Byron Murphy week. This week was the Nwosu week. And you mentioned that play, that sack by Nwosu. Yeah. Big Cat got double teamed on that one, but so did Nwosu. He had the guard pulling and the running back there. And Nwosu just said, nope, I'm just going to act like I'm going outside, then whip inside and sack Kyler Murray. And so to see him coming back and having that effective 2-sack game, I'd like seeing that from Nwosu too.
Oh, you betcha. Kind of a welcome back. I know he played a little bit last week, but got his feet wet. Now gets back in week 4 here, gets the sack, and almost perfect timing with D-Law going down with the thigh injury. I don't know. I don't think we've probably heard anything about that yet. Mike doesn't seem to disclose really much of anything with injuries. So I think we're all kind of in the dark until about game day on that stuff, but just good for Nwosu, another versatile guy to plug in there with a bunch of other very good players outside of the great Leo Williams on the cusp of being great Byron Murphy. He's just balling out, man. And it's so much fun to watch those two work off of each other. And then you throw Jared Reed in there. This interior of the defensive line is an absolute monster. People talk about the Eagles all the time with their interior. This is right there. This is right there with them. It's got to be. If they're not number 1, then they're number 2.
They've been able to get consistent pressure with just 4 guys. And that is so important to freeing up the back end of the defense to do a lot more things. Shoot, that play that I pointed out where the Nwosu sack happens, they're running max protect for Kyler Murray. And so 6 on 4, and they're expecting one of the guys that goes out into a pattern to be able to get open, at least even quickly, for Kyler Murray to dump it off to. He drops back, and by the time they're getting pressure with just the 4 guys against their 6, there's nobody open. And so for the back end of the defense to be able to have that ability to cover, and Kyler can't escape because they've created that nice little pocket on the, they've kept him contained on the outside, And so for him to step up into the middle there and get him, that's just the one play that keeps sticking in my mind without that. But there are plays throughout the game where they were doing similar things to frustrate Murray.
D-line balling out. Ernest Jones flowing, looking good, has the pick in the game too. And Marvin Harrison has yet another concentration drop. I like how everybody thought he caught the one touchdown and then solved all of his earthly problems. Like, that's fun. We'll see.
I did see a stat though that he has, if you put up his career and his dad's career, they have nearly the exact same numbers through the same number of games. It's like 2 catches difference and like 10 yards. It's ridiculous how close their numbers are through that period of time. So I also wonder too, maybe it's a little bit of overreaction with Harrison Jr. And there's just always these high expectations for guys to like be that dude through a year and a half. Like we're seeing that with JSN, but for a lot of guys, they don't hit that stride for a little while.
Year 3, year 4, a lot of times with these receivers, not everybody's Jamar Chase or OBJ when they pop into the league.
Yeah.
Like that's the aberration, not the norm. So, I mean, whatever with that, but Ernest playing well, gets that pick off of that play we talked about. Drake Thomas, I think, is playing Tyrese Knight out of a job. Drake Thomas had a whale of a game. And congratulations to him, a guy that's bounced around the league and is really had to fight his tail off for the playing time that he's gotten. Back end as a whole is playing good. Job has another solid game. Safeties play well. And then there's Reek.
3 penalties by Tariq Woolen in this game. And in times where it allowed the Cardinals to continue to move the football. And yeah, it's real frustrating. I think the thing that's most frustrating with Woolen is that we expect the growth to be there. We have high expectations for him. And so I just not seeing him. We're seeing him make the same mistakes over again. And I think that's where people are getting frustrated.
Ding, 100% ding. Like that, watching this game, it was just like, okay, this is this year 4 for him?
Yeah.
Year 3? Year 4.
Contract.
Yeah. And in contract year, on top of that contract year, a full year of Mike's defense to know what he's being asked to do. And then you're watching guys like Kendrick and Job and, all the secondary players really take to what Mike has put in for the defense, and Reek seemingly just not having it seep in. And I think Herbie killed him on one of those back shoulders that, he didn't get turned around fast enough and all that. And I was like, that one's not fair. I mean, he's playing the right technique and he turns his head right after Harrison puts his hands up, but that just late hands. So I don't know what you're supposed to do, but there was another one later in the game where it was just like, what are we doing? Like, I mean, we can't play DB this way.
Right.
You got to be more aware of where you are in the field, where it's a lack of details. And he hasn't been great in coverage. He's been fine to good, but that's the whole point of having Reek Woolen, is for him to be great in coverage, because you're giving up the physicality and tackling ability in run defense, or even just, taking guys down after the catch and preventing yak. Look, I was not excited about Reek going into last year. And I thought they should have traded him then, because I just didn't think he was ever going to be a Mike McDonald guy. I kind of think that's where we're at now. I think it's kind of proving out. I think Mike's officially frustrated.
Oh, you could sense it, because he recognizes too that Reek has that talent to be able to do the things that he's making these mistakes, but he has the talent to be better. And I think that's the thing where a lot of us get frustrated as fans too, because the dude has elite makeup speed and corners are going to get beat. And, but he has this ability that when he does get beat, he can recognize it and then turn on the jets and then be back in position to make a play. And in this game, we saw him get beat, and then he got called for a holding penalty, and it's things like that where you probably didn't need to grab there at all. And yet there it is. And now you're giving him a free first down. So it's a lot of it comes down to whether or not he trusts himself to get into position, whether or not he's getting his head around in some of these critical moments where then he would just not get called if he could just get his head around in time. And like, we know he can do it. So I like the approach right now of hearing Mike say, hey, we're just going to drill some of these things, and saying that he thinks that Reek is maybe in his head a little bit when it comes to, I want to see him give Reek a chance through a little bit longer, although maybe with the report from Ian Rappaport that he could be on the trade block, maybe we could see him gone sooner than later. I don't know if you saw this, but so Rap Sheet tweets out, with Seahawks star cornerback Devin Witherspoon returning on Thursday, teams are monitoring Pro Bowl cornerback Reek Woolen as a possible trade target by the deadline, sources tell the insiders. Woolen's playing time has diminished, and in a contract year, teams believe he could be available. So
what are top corners going for these days?
Oh gosh,
like 25 a year,
25
30?
a year, probably
somewhere in there. I'm guessing. I honestly don't know off the top of my head, but
if I were to guess, 25 feels right.
Okay. Is Reek Woolen a 20 to $25 million player a year?
You would have a hard time nailing me down on any number would you pay 10 million for what Reek brings?
Yes.
I think that 15?
That's like league average corner money,
15?
league average starter.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I could pay. Are you going to sign Reek Woolen to less than $15 million?
Another team's going to pay him more than that.
In free agency? Absolutely. So when you start adding up all that stuff, I don't think there's any point in carrying on this experiment any longer. Look, if you're gonna be smart about this, if you really wanted to maximize his value, you trade him 2 off seasons ago when I was like, let's just get rid of him. If you wanted the next best window, you trade him before the draft last year. Look, the third best window would probably be before the season, and now this is your least attractive window to trade him before the trade deadline. But I'd rather get something now, even though we drug our feet. I'd rather get something now than just let him walk in free agency, because there's no effing way I'm paying that dude much more than 10, 12 million a year. Just no, thank you.
So the argument comes down to, and you could trade player for player, and that makes sense, then that's one thing. If you're talking about picks, then I struggle with the idea of, I like having depth at positions to where I don't necessarily have to worry that if there's an injury there, then we don't have depth to cover it. And I really like the depth that we have with Kendrick right now, because he seems to be the guy that if you were to give more playing time to, Kendrick would be the guy for me. It's really interesting to me that we didn't see him at all make a defensive snap. He played on special teams. We saw Kendrick get some special team snaps against the Cardinals, but we didn't see him make any plays. And so, okay, it's interesting when I go back to the Rappaport tweet. It says, Woolen's playing time has diminished, and in a contract year, teams believe he could be available. I always wonder about where these come from, where these reports, like who's trying to get this information out. You and I have talked about it for years. Like, it seems like if it's coming from John Schneider, he has like his dude that he goes through to try and get information out. Rappaport's generally not that guy, I feel like, for...
No, he's a Mike McDonald guy.
Is he?
Him and Mike are tight.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the thing that's weird to me is Woolen's playing time has diminished. I went back and looked at the snaps per game.
I was going to say, has it?
He's missed 10 defensive snaps out of all the defensive snaps this year, which is, I think, if you were to look at him and Job, I think maybe Job's had 4 more defensive snaps than Woolen. So, I mean, that seems real negligible. Negligible.
There it is. Yeah, nailed it. Yeah.
Yeah. First try. It just doesn't seem to matter that much. So would that make more sense of coming from another team source? Would it make more sense coming from Woolen's agent? I wonder.
I don't know. I don't think it really helps Woolen in the short term. Look,
if he sees the writing on the wall as a player that Kendrick's pushing him for playing time, they've got Shaq Griffin on the team. He knows he's in a contract year. Like, he wants to be out on the field as much as possible in a contract year. So it makes a lot of sense to me from his agent's perspective to say, hey, I see this writing on the wall. I need to get him in a better situation so that I can get him the most money come this offseason.
I mean, we haven't seen his snaps diminish. I'm not sure that you're going to take him off the field if he's still on the team. Like, he's not a complete liability, but there's frustrating moments. There's no doubt about it. So I think your value is still going to be fine come the end of the year when you hit free agency. Plus, even if he gets demoted and benched or whatever, right? Yeah. There's going to be at least 3 or 4 cornerback needy teams that look at Tariq Woolen and bid against one another to get his services at his size and his speed. Las Vegas Raiders, like, that's, that's how that's going to go. He's going to get paid. So for me, this is basically, and I heard Hawk Blogger talk a little bit about this, and I tend to agree with him on this one, that this probably is a little more team driven. Like, hey, if you're interested, call me, pick up the phone. Let's see.
Yeah. Generally, that's not, you pointed to him being a Coach Mike source. That's generally not where you see those come from.
Oh, I agree.
Season, but it's interesting. And I agree with you too about his production so far. If we're to put together a sheet of his wrongdoings at corner so far, it's 2 completions to allow the 49ers to come back in game 1, a game that you still had a chance to win, and 3 penalties in a game that would have been an easy win if JSN doesn't get called for a weird hold.
Well, he certainly helps the Cards extend these drives and get the game close as well. So, I mean, what's recosting you per game this year? Maybe a point, maybe 2 on average.
Sure. But Jason Myers missed he's missed a couple field goals too. And it's not like we're going, Jason Myers odd year.
Yeah, he's also nailed a couple real long ones too, and hit the game winner. So let's not get it twisted here. I'm curious. Do you think we're a better team, taking depth aside here? Put that over here. Are we a better team with Kendrick starting opposite Job than we are with Woolen starting opposite Job?
Or would it be Job and Witherspoon on the outsides with Kendrick playing slot?
That's not what they did previous.
I'd have to go back and look. I think it was, I don't know.
And then also remember, Eamon Warry's coming back at some point here too, and that gives you some more depth and flexibility as well.
Yeah, they're really good at depth, and I like it. I really like the fact that they have a lot of depth, and I'm excited about that. So I could see. I'm definitely okay. Like, if they were able to make a trade for, I don't know, a veteran guard, that'd be awesome. If they're able to make a trade for a veteran linebacker, that'd be awesome.
I guess. And that's the thing, is that at the end of the day, if it's not a guard, I'm a lot less interested in a player in return, even though like the value for this year is going to be higher. In terms of, it would probably be a higher quality player than a high quality draft pick, because max a third for Reek
at max
in season.
The way that a lot of teams look at it, hey, if you're looking to get rid of a guy, it's
distressed asset.
It's a distressed asset. Plus, it's if he were to go to free agency and get paid at top of the market as a corner, you would get a 3rd round comp pick. So back end of the 3rd round, but that's an extra year out. That's not a 2026 pick. That's a 2027. And that's a comp pick that you might not get depending on the types of moves you make. So 4th is kind of where teams value that type of player. But I'm glad that we talked about that, because that's when we're talking about what kind of compensation you would get. Third or fourth is the best that you're hoping for.
Could you get another Josh Jobe type that people aren't looking at as a good corner? Because, I mean, at this point, I'm starting to really believe in the Mike McDonald quarterback development process when it comes to Kendrick and Jobe, and you going down this. Plus, we still have Shaq Griffin hanging out that can go out there and play NFL football. I mean, he might not be the best corner in the league by any stretch, but he's a guy.
You're making me nervous though when we get to that level of depth. Like then I start to go, yeah, is Woolen, or the mistakes that we see from Woolen, would we see those similar types of mistakes or just different mistakes from a guy like Shaq Griffin?
Well, he's your in case of emergency break glass guy.
Yeah.
So I mean, Woolen could get hurt and somehow you end up at some point getting Griffin out on the field anyway, right? But let's say like he's not a dumpster fire either. It's not like he's some 6th round pick. And I mean, and there's Nehemiah Pritchett somewhere around here too. And who knows how his development's been going. You never know. I think if you get a 4th or a 5th for Reek right now, instead of a whole lot of nothing at the end of the year, I'd do it. I'd do it right now.
I wouldn't do it. I would be upset at a 5th. I think that I would be fine waiting, getting a 3rd or a 4th round comp.
I'm more upset at losing to the catfish 49ers in week 1 for literally no reason other than Reek couldn't pull his head out of his ass.
Yeah, because it would have been nice to get the comeback. Again, that would have been Sam's first stat if he'd been able to pull it off there. Instead, we get Sam's first stat against the Cardinals, coming back and kicking the late field goal with that drive. So we had to wait a little bit, but we got there. We got Sam's first stat, Adam.
Big back shoulder to JSN. You gotta love the new kickoff rule. It's hilarious. Like we've recorded What If this morning, and so you guys will see that later this week. But we have a nice discussion about the special teams and the kickoff rule again with Clinton, who hates this with the passion of 1,000 burning suns. And I was like, hey, are you feeling any better about it since you got the ball at the 40 and then we're able to eke out a win against the Cardinals here? He's like, no.
You got to see a demonstration just this past week of why it matters, of why the kickoff matters, because we saw the Cardinals kicker try and get it into that landing zone and fail. And it comes out to the 40 as if he were to have kicked it out of bounds. And then we saw against the Packers, we saw the Cowboys execute it perfectly, where the kicker drops it into the landing zone. Then it goes into the end zone for a touchback, and the Packers have to start at the 20. And so then they have to go the entire length of the field, or a greater amount of the field, just to get into field goal range. And it was real hard for them to do that with the amount of time in overtime. And we end up seeing a stupid tie. But it's partly because of that rule and making the kickoff more important that this is part of the strategy now that goes into the kickoff, and it makes it an actual play.
It does. And let's put a pin in that for half a tick, because we don't want to shortchange Sam here on his stat. Yeah. I mean, that was ice water in his veins, 28 seconds, gets in there and really operates the offense to a high level, gets him in position and seals this game after sputtering in the 4th quarter, to put it kindly, in terms of the offense. That was cool. And, one of the big knocks on Sam, and one of my largest concerns that still isn't gone, is clutch time for Sam Darnold. But here we go. Here's some data. And we've had 2 opportunities. One, he didn't come through. Not his fault. I'm not putting that on him. Abe lost that rep, and it just happened to his ass knocked the ball out of Sam's hand. In this one, Sam came through. So he's 1-1 in these situations, and we'll continue to monitor it. But some things to be excited about.
Okay. While we're on that point, what do you have to see before the playoffs? Is there something that you could see to say, okay, we're there? And I know what it is for me.
boy.
Because I'm in a similar spot with you. I know a lot of people are excited, especially after seeing a Sam Darnold stat. They're like, okay, through 4 games, I wasn't sure if we were going to be 3-1. Now we're 3-1, and which is way better than 2-2, which I think is, as fans, like, we're okay. 2-2 would be an okay start to the season with a new offense with Kubiak. I was preparing myself for that. And then to be at 3-1, it's like, oh, and we've seen some really nice throws from Sam. We saw that one to Bobo over the middle. The one to Arroyo was incredible. Like, he was
that was outrageous,
like, ridiculous throw to put it in the spot, and only saved because Budda Baker was holding back Arroyo's arm. Otherwise, it's right in Arroyo's basket to catch that football for a touchdown, which would have been amazing. Instead, they're able to punch it in right after. But throws like that where you go, okay, this is with the type of protection that Minnesota was giving him last year. I feel like this is about equal. And he has, and then for JSN to be in that Jefferson role, maybe they don't have, I don't know, all the receiving options that maybe Minnesota had, but still, they're getting the job done. I can see why, as a fan base, like, oh, this is not what we were told to be expecting from Sam Darnold all offseason. And what I'm seeing is I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. But I think there are places where you and I look and go, and if he could just get, if I saw this one particular thing, I asked you what yours was. I'm happy to save mine, but I tried to give you some time to think about it.
Well, you said before the playoffs, and that's where the rubber kind of meets the road. Like, look, it took me, Gino had his first year. And I think by 4th game in his first year, he had that game against the Saints where he hit Tyler on that dime in the back of the end zone between 3 defenders. And you were like, oh my God, like, that was an incredible throw. Yeah. And that's amazing. And look at this. I wasn't all in on Gino until year 2, 3-4 games into the season. Like, in that offseason between year 1 and year 2, my exact words were something along the lines of, hey, that was a great year 1. Let's see it again. I have to see it again. I recognize that maybe I take longer to get to that point with a player than maybe others. And if you're quicker to get there, you're welcome to do that. I just think that in this society, we've become so 20-second soundbite obsessed and TikTok brained and all that 4 games seems like an entire season and crown the guy. I'm not anywhere near there. I'd have to see a come from behind victory on the road in LA against the stupid Rams in the playoffs for me to be like, oh, there it is.
Oh, in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Okay.
I gotta see it in a moment that matters.
Okay. And that's kind of where I'm at. I'm willing to accept it not being in the playoffs and just being against a playoff team. If they go, but I think I'd want to see it twice against a playoff team in the regular season where it's that critical comeback moment. I'm not talking about being ahead 2 touchdowns against a really good team, because that doesn't put the type of pressure on the quarterback that I think that I want to see in particular. I want to see it, I'll say 2 times against playoff caliber teams to be to the point to where going into the playoffs, I'm like, yep, I've seen it. We can do it.
Okay. And I'll put this caveat on it too. Gino played the Niners in his first year in the playoffs, and they were leading at half
a game. We were leading at the half.
Exactly. Like, Gino played well, and then the team around him crumbled, and you still saw Gino try to pull that team through that game. And I was like, okay, I see it. Like, that's in a big moment. It wasn't him that was crumbling. It was the defense and the offensive line and the play calling and everything around him. Even if Sam went and had a similar game to that in, his first playoff game with the Seahawks, that would be enough for me to go, okay, like, you acquitted yourself well. Unlike last year when he got into, and it wasn't even the playoffs, it was the last game of the year, but it's practically a playoff game because it was for the number 1 seed, completely catfish the bed. Like, where it was his fault. playoff game against the Rams. If you want to pin that on their offensive line, so be it. I can agree with you on that. But that previous game, that's where I just am like, okay, this is cool. We'll see. We'll see. I'm happy so far. I can say that.
Yeah, me too.
And I just think that's me being consistent.
Okay. And I think we're in similar spots and just wanting to see it to be sure. But because as of right now, I don't know if I've seen enough to pull him out of that. I've said in the past, I think Sam Darnold, Geno Smith, Baker Mayfield, very similar types of quarterbacks. And I think through 4 games of the season, like Sam's definitely been put himself above those other two, especially Geno, with his interceptions.
There's no way
it's the offense. Part of that's the offense that they're running in Vegas. I'll give him that. But
in the offensive line in front of him, and like his best pass catcher right now is either a one-legged Brock Bowers or Jacoby Myers, and they can't run the ball because the Rook is terrible as Earl Thomas predicted.
Game. The Rook
did he? Okay, I didn't watch Raiders this last week, but yeah, like this whole because people. Oh, I see articles. Oh, in 2 ways regarding Sam. I see articles going 2 ways. One is Sam versus Geno. Oh, look at how it's compared 25% into the season. Ridiculous. Like, at least give it week 10. At least. Like, and then also take into account context in the situations both the guys are in. The other way I see it going is, did Vikings make a mistake with JJ McCarthy and choosing Sam Darnold? Oh my God, dude's been injured for 2 games. He's a rookie. Like, we'll know by year 3 whether that was a mistake for JJ.
They made a mistake
that's so dumb.
They made a mistake by not re-signing Daniel Jones. I'll tell you that much.
Okay, maybe. I'm still not convinced that's actually Daniel Jones. I'm not. I think it's an imposter. I do. I think it's a genetically engineered
Rams for the freaking Colts to be in it with the Rams for as long as they were. That's wild.
Wild, man. I'm blown away by what's going on down there, but I still don't believe that that's Daniel Jones. I think that's like a good twin brother instead of the evil twin. He's the good twin because he's actually good at quarterback. Yeah. Whatever it is. And he's not even a twin. He doesn't even look like the same guy in the uniform.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fun. And I mentioned Baker Mayfield's name. Like, Baker's fun, but he's had some moments where it's been like against the Eagles where it has just been tough. And part of that's their receiving crew and not having Mike Evans, which is kind of his safety blanket, which, I mean,
that was everything in that game.
Yeah.
Their receivers were bad, objectively bad in that game. They couldn't, I don't know. I mean, the man coverage of the Eagles was smothering. Those dudes had 0 separation, absolutely none throughout the entire game.
And then Baker
tried
too much in at that point.
And he always tries to do a little too much. He's always going to that hero ball level. He always thinks that he's right on the cusp of like Mahomes level. And it's like, right. That's just not who you are, man. And Geno falls into that trap now and then too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think that's why we've seen as many interceptions as he has, and why we've seen him in the past too. It's like he goes, "Yeah, oh yeah, I can make this throw." He says that about a lot of these throws. Is like, "Oh yeah, I can make that."
Oh yeah, they both have a good amount of YOLO in there. Whereas I think that's with Sam, and that's why I wanted to start when we were talking about Sam early in the pod, was just like how intellectually solid he's been as a quarterback. He really has been pretty darn good. And needs to speed up his clock occasionally in the pocket, but I mean, we're picking nits at that point.
But sometimes his problem is he's a tick late of not trusting himself. So it's like, would you rather have the YOLO and throwing it into windows like that? Like 50% of the time, it's an amazing throw.
I do.
Yeah,
because as if it's no risk it, no biscuit. That's where I'm at.
Yeah. All right. Well, a fun talk about the different quarterbacks and through 4 weeks of the season. Yeah. And Sam's an easy guy to root for. So he's kind of in
Baker, 1,000%.
You know, Baker land with that.
Baker's become super easy to root for too. Yeah.
All right.
Did you want to go back to the kickoff discussion, or are you good?
Oh yeah, you did put a pin in that. What?
Oh, I just think this is incredible, and I love that it's made the kickoff beyond relevant. And I think, obviously, we've seen an uptick in scoring because of the better field position, but I think this is going to be a season. This is my prediction, and I think that we're going to go from having an uptick in scoring to a downtick in scoring by the end of the year, as these kickers have started to figure out. And I hate giving a Ram credit for anything, but Cardi seems to be the guy who kind of started this trend, and the dude down in Carolina. And you see the Cowboys kicker getting here too, hitting that knuckleball kick, the dirty kick, where it's just destroying return opportunities and really pinning dudes deep. And if you have a guy that can do that, that's going to become a weapon. And I love it. I love that this third of the game is now a third of the game. I think it's fabulous. I really like it.
And it results in the play being relevant. Yeah. Okay. Some of we may not see as, we're still going to see more kickoffs than we used to. And that's ultimately what the point of this was. And the NFL is going to keep moving that distance forward of penalizing it, especially if it continues to be a relatively safe play with the way that they've oriented the players now. And I think that for the most part, we've seen it continue to be as safe as any other NFL play. Yeah,
I think they're right on it this year. I really do. I think the rule's right where it needs to be. I'm really excited about it.
Okay. Well, I'll look forward to hearing Clinton's objection to this one, just as I look forward to hearing his continued objection about the tush push.
Middle-aged man shakes fist at sky. There you go. That's what the objection sounds like.
Well, we are not shaking our fist at the sky for our executive producers. We've got DCH, Ryan Peterson, our live YouTube executive producer, JC Schilling in the 313th, as well as Brian Shaw. And we are going to be thanking our $12 members and above at the end of the show. But we've got some new members to welcome to the flock, Adam.
Oh, absolutely. Let's do it, man.
All right. Derek Gwinnett in at $3 a month. Welcome to the flock to Derek.
Heck yeah, Derek. Appreciate that, man. Welcome to the Discord.
We've got Narwells in at $5 a month. So welcome to the flock to Narwells.
Nice. Okay. So is that a whale reference? Like, aren't those like the narwhal whales? Isn't that a thing?
I don't think so. Well, I think narwhal is a thing, but it's spelled with a G.
There it is.
So narwhals with a G.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
I'm assuming the G is silent, and but it could be narwhals.
I don't know. Be kind of fun if it was.
Dylan Robinson is in at $3 a month as well. So welcome to the flock to Dylan and Adam. Stephen Kirkpatrick coming in $23.20.
Heck yeah, man. Appreciate it, Steven. That's awesome. And thank you to all of you who got in the flock this week. That's really, really cool. And we do appreciate the idea that you enjoy the value that you get and find that matching that value for value in your donations kind of, sets your hawker straight. And if you have been a freeloader for longer than 2 years, it's time. It's time. We're looking at you. It's looking at you. We're 25% of the way to the season. I don't know if I mentioned that, but we are. And if this is like, your third year and you're 25% into it and you still haven't gotten in the flock, I mean, I understand if it's hard to look at yourself in the mirror in the morning. Like it's only going to get harder.
That grace period, catching up to our members of the flock, getintheflock.com. How about we welcome in our Pick'em League overlord, Evie. Dear underlings, this week I am a happy overlord. You all obeyed the rules, all picked the Seahawks, and they won. Although on a Thursday night, that's weird. This week's winner is London's own Hawk Van Dyke with 12 picks correct and the closest tiebreaker with 38 points predicted. Well, congratulations to Bloomy there. See, he had me send him a coin, which is the prize for this year, the 50th anniversary coin. Now he earned it. So I'm happy to see that.
That all worked out great. Really, congratulations to Bloomy. He's been taking a lot of shots this year on the Zabel thing. So nice to be able to celebrate Bloomy for a change here. I'm excited about that.
Well, so we can celebrate Bloomy for that. He's also been on point with his predictions through the first. Like, he had the Seahawks at 3-1 through 4 games and has picked every game correctly.
Solid.
So his pick'em league instincts are carrying over to other teams in the NFL this week. I see.
Impressive, man. Very, very impressive.
Overall, we have 4 people with 50 correct picks. G. Haley, Horton Here's a Who, Lame Hawk's Name, and Oots of This World. There are then another 3, 1 pick further back on 49 picks, making up the top 5 places. Dad is one of those. He briefly changed his name to Brandon and Adam want me to get divorced, but Mom told him to grow up or he would be getting divorced.
That makes me so happy.
From what I can work out in the Brandon versus Adam mini league is it is 2-1 to Brandon, as neither of you picked this week. Do better.
No.
Adam was out and I was lazy. So there we go.
Well,
if you want,
I think we're going to do retroactive picks because I did really bad and I'm happy to admit to it. Yeah.
I probably did too. So we can put in our picks retroactively. We don't need to air it, but we can.
No.
If you want another competition, Dad loves squad numbers in all sports and plays a game where he names a sport or team and then tries to name a player for that team or in that sport who has worn that number. I think you two should have a competition starting at 1 and alternating until one of you can't think of a player for that number for the Seahawks. Interesting. I'm off to school now. Double physics first thing. Wish me luck. Have a great week. Go Hawks from Evie.
Oh, Evie, and physics first thing out of the gate. That's rough. You got to have like a band as like your first period, like just something to kind of get the blood moving and all that, but like not a lot of thinky, like right out of the gate. Physics out of the gate. That'd be tough.
Double physics, she says. So I don't know. Is this a slang term we're having back-to-back classes in the morning, or is it like a 200 level physics course?
It's like extra hard physics. Yeah. That's what I think because I know. But this idea of
on what double physics means.
Yeah. This jersey number game, we can settle this right now. Brandon wins.
Okay.
There's no shot. I have 0 shot at that. I'm so bad at that sort of thing.
Okay. I feel like I would be pretty good. So you're probably right.
Yeah. Yeah. I would immediately forfeit that. Like, because Brandon's far better at me than I am. Yeah.
Sometimes I can be pretty good at when they're, who is the leading such and such at a particular statistic for the Seahawks. Like I don't know. Yeah. Those types of things stick in my brain.
Yeah, they used to. And then I got older and now they don't.
No,
they're just gone now. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe another game, Evie, but something that favors Adam a little bit more.
That was a great suggestion. I'm just saying, take the dub already. Like, you already won. Yeah.
All right. Well, we also got an email from the Bard coming in, says, "Hi, fellas. What a lovely feeling on a Sunday night knowing that you've already won. Oh, and thank you, Jags, as well. The bye week before the Bucks. As for the game itself, I watched the game. See, I always have a problem. You know what it is with John? The font. It's this. I need to improve the font so the line spacing works out. This is a me problem, not a John problem. I've always struggled with this. Just know people don't know it because these don't normally air live with all the mistakes.
That's right.
I'm going to start over. What a lovely feeling, and nobody will ever notice. What a lovely feeling on a Sunday night knowing that you've already won. Oh, and thank you, Jags, as well. I watched the game on Friday morning, having not gone on any sites to find the score, as well as the win. It's almost like a bye week before the Bucks. As for the game itself, we did well in all areas, knowing again from quarterback to special teams, there is still room for improvement. Darnold is looking like last season's Darnold rather than the previous ones. I was well pleased with the 6 sacks and the 2 interceptions, but we never took advantage of them to put the game away, which could almost be a do better. At 20 points to 6, then at 20 points to 6, it was looking rosy, but then suddenly it was 20 points each and 30 seconds left. How nice then of their kicker not to get the ball into the landing zone. Have they cut him? So what looked like a stroll to the end turned into a squeaky bum time, but we did it in the end, and that's what counts. We also went from 7-1 to 4-1 to win the division with the Rams, the new favorites. Looking forward to a good week and the Bucks at home. Go Hawks from the Bard.
Hey, go Hawks, John, and you're not wrong. Squeaky bum, good time.
Appreciate John coming in, and yeah, man, 20-20 at the end, and when it just didn't need to be that close.
No,
it felt like one of those weird Arizona games for sure, and yeah, man, nice to come away with the victory. And we did have one injury, but DeMarcus Lawrence, it wasn't a critical injury like we've seen in some moments in the desert.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem as if it's a long-term one either.
Yeah, like a soft tissue injury, like it might be a couple weeks type of thing.
Right. So, yeah, survive the Indian burial ground. Like, I'm excited. Like, that's great.
Yeah. Let's hope we never have to return there until next year.
That's exactly right.
All right, man. Well, a big thanks to all our members of the flock. I got a special surprise for our $12 members and above this week, Adam. I have a new video that, because normally we just run the names, thanks to our $12 members and above, but I have some little AI generated characters that I think folks are going to enjoy for those of you who have sent me your voice. And so I'll put in the plug now because I think people are going to see this and they'll go, hey, I've been a member for a while. How come I don't get my voice out there? All you got to do is record a little bit of audio onto your phone, email it to gohawks@seahawkerspodcast.com. I can create a little AI avatar of you saying your name as you're about to see. As Adam, we thank our $12 members and above.
Absolutely. Look, with each passing minute, I am increasingly convinced that AI it will be the end of humanity. And that with that being the case, if you get this out of it, then it might be worth it because this is fun. I really enjoyed what you did here.
Let's get to it.
Keith Ketover, a.k.a. Flocktimus Prime, University of Cybertron, Little Flockers, roll out.
DCH from Sparks, Nevada, the University of Montana Grizzlies.
Gary Blum from Chappaqua, New York, and the University of Pennsylvania, your 2016 Pick'em League champion.
Ron Pepper, UNLV Runnin' Rebels, San Francisco, California.
Hello, this is Hock Van Dyke from London, the 2024 champion of the Ring of Honor Fantasy Football League.
Lisa in Seattle.
Samuel Gelber, NoHo, California.
David Van Cleve, Camas, Washington, home of the Papermakers.
Leo Jesse, Luleå, Sweden, from Luleå Eskimos and Remkomar in France.
Aaron Fisher, coming in from Henderson, Nevada. Go Hawks!
Chris Boucher, a.k.a. the biggest little flocker, South Central Louisiana State University. Go Mud Dogs.
Hey, it's JC Schilling, back from Germany, living on beautiful Whidbey Island now with Quinn and Hudson. Go Hawks!
Hey, Seahawkers. My name is Garen Taylor. I live in one of the most beautiful places in the world, North Idaho. Hashtag on the roads. Go Hawks.
You heard from our executive producers, DCH and JC Schilling. A big thanks as well to executive producers Ryan Peterson and Brian Shaw. And continuing down the list of $12 supporters and above for the previous month, starting with Rebecca in Manhattan Beach, California, Christina in Manassas, Virginia, Craig in Camas, Jeremiah in the Bronx, Sven in Berlin, Deutschland, Kevin in Great Glen, England, Brian in Omak, Jonathan in Ridgefield, Brandon in Huntersville, North Carolina, Pepper in Greer, South Carolina, Kevin in Surrey, BC. Jake in Seattle. Stephen in the Greater Hawkdom. JC in Horsford, England. Jay in Linwood. Brian in Berlin, Connecticut. Connie in Gothenburg, Sweden. Glenn in Ocoee, Florida. Tracy in Kaneohe, Hawaii. Marvin in Riverdale, Utah. Jeffrey in Kansas City. John in New York. Patrick in Sacramento. Bryson in Eltopia. Jeremy in Federal Way. Ken in Hutto, Texas. Mario in Seattle. Cora in Ditters, Deutschland. Anders in Vejle, Denmark. Paul in Portland. Daniel C. in the Greater Hawkdom. Norma in the Greater Hawkdom. Jeff in Bainbridge Island. JC in the Greater Hawkdom. Warren in Dundee, Oregon. Chris in Austin. Amy in Squim. Richard in Killeen, Texas. Joseph in Vancouver. Ryan in Salt Lake City. Jamie in Oswestry, England. Joshua in the Greater Hawkdom. Rafe in Beaverton, Oregon. DJ in Menifee, California. Jason in Panama City, Florida. Mark in Bexley Heath, England. Alexander in Oranienburg, Deutschland. Ryan in Fairbanks. Sean in Cascade, Iowa via Kalispell, Montana. Greg in Lake City, Colorado. Gordon in Valdez, Alaska. Ovary Smasher 69 in Phoenix. Oliver in Fort St. John, BC. Ian in Seattle. B-Walls 22 in New York. Russell in Harpenden, England. Corey in Robertson, Australia. Sam in Altamont Springs, Florida. Chris in Manchester, England. Nathan in Fife. Charles in Bremerton. Ranger Luke in DuPont. Ken in Stanwood. The Poetrist in Boise, Idaho. Stu in Navarra, Florida. Marty in Melbourne, Australia. Nate in Solna, Sweden. Martin in Ferrum, Denmark. RJ in Bucyrus, Kansas. Root in the Greater Hawkdom. Jeremiah in the Greater Hawkdom. Mark in Everett. Jack in San Diego. Mike in Snohomish. Yokai in Nakatsugawa-shi, Japan. And Lauren in Bellingham. There it is. A big thanks to our $12 supporters and above. Adam, I just can't get over seeing Hong Kong Hawk Dave Bloomquist as a chimney sweep in downtown London.
Well, when you think of it in terms of Hawk Van Dyke instead, it all kind of, comes full circle there as the chimney sweep.
What did I say?
Yeah. You said Hong Kong Hawk, which is his former his Hawk name. But since he committed like 7 felonies underneath that name, he had to change it to Hawk Van Dyke, flee Hong Kong, and that's why he's hiding out in London. I mean, or just so I heard.
Yeah, a throwback to me to good thing I didn't call him Boston Hawk, which was his original name when we started the show.
Exactly. Do we even know who he really is? Is his name really Bloomy?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Because I don't think it is. And I'm the longer this goes on, him and Heather country hopping, I'm more and more dead convinced that they're CIA operatives, like for sure.
Some type of agency. It could be MI6 by now. We don't know.
Or maybe they've all just kind of merged together into, some nefarious, one world international spiring.
Ooh, okay. So I may end up changing his avatar then from a loving chimney sweep in London to maybe a potential CIA operative in a video coming up.
Can you just have the chimney sweep perform a hit after he does a little chimney sweep routine?
I kind of want to stay up on YouTube. I think I'd like us to stay on YouTube.
Okay, it doesn't have to be on camera, it could just be silence something off to the distance, Yeah.
Okay. I'll take that in consideration.
I mean, it's just it's what Bloomy does on a Thursday. So
I don't need to out him or get on his bad side. What are we talking about here?
Hey, you can't find me out here, so I'm good.
Well, Adam, I know you're good, and I'm good with our Hawks. I'm looking forward to watching a little Thursday night football this week and seeing which team loses between the Niners and the Rams. One of them has to lose, and that just makes me happy.
Look, there's certain things that make my heart just a flutter, and one of them is Niners tears and or Rams tears. They're both equally as
doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
And I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.